please tell us, when did you had your first glass of wine?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I started in '88. Before I was a beer drinker, no? And why? Because I didn't experience about the quality of wines in the '80s. No, there was not a high quality. So it was a travel to Bordeaux only for pleasure. And in Bordeaux, I discovered some Bordeaux wines. They were excellent. It was really something exciting. And so I wanted to know more, and I wanted to go inside. And this was my first step. I remember it in Bordeaux, Saint-Emilion, Place Centrale. This was my first wine.
How did you get into the wine industry?
Yes, it was the expression, the evolution of a passion. No? I started with, this was the first step, no? To know more about wines, and then I wanted to know more about the different kind of wines. Therefore I started in Bordeaux, and then I wanted to know more about Italy, and so slowly, no, it begins. No, it's a passion, and it's an evolution of the passion. It begins in the great story begins in 1992 with the first Merano Wine Festival.
What do you most like in a wine?
I like character and personality. It means I want to discover the territory, I want to discover the producer, so I think each wine is like something very special. No? You must feel it, and you must feel it in yourself. So for me it's important to go in the deepness of the wine. No? And so to discover all the aromas, the complexity, maybe for a very full body red wine, or maybe for a white wine more the well balanced between acidity, and so I try to find the best, no? And the best, I mean, for me is a never-ending story. So when I taste the wine, then I'm there and I think, wow, no, this is for me the best.
You are the founder of the famous Merano Wine Festival. Year after year, from 1992 up to the present day, you were supervising the whole winemaking adventure in Italy and abroad. What feelings do you have when you look back at the first edition?
Great feelings, because the first edition was like an adventure, no? It was with two friends. We started, before we started tasting wines, discover wine areas, visiting wineries, and then we decided to invite the producer to come to us and to present their wines. And remember, in 1992 there was no internet, we didn't have a personal computer, you know, so it was very difficult to communicate. So we had only a fax or a phone, and that was the beginning, real beginning, to invite other people, and we saw that many people were interested to know more about wine, and this was the first step.
Do you remember when did you taste your first Romanian wine?
Yes, I remember it very well, because it was in the year 2000. A producer, Italian producer, from the winery Vinarte, and they had a winery in Tuscany, Castello della Panerita, and they presented a Merlot of Romania, and then the producer presented me the wine area on photos, I remember, because he invited me to discover Romania, but I hadn't no really time, no, and I was surprised about the price. 2000, I remember one Romanian wines, so Merlot, had a price of 4,000 lire. It means €2, no? And it was really surprising, and I invited this winery to the Merano Wine Festival. It was the first winery at the Merano Wine Festival.
After 2 days in the project of the wine book of Romania, what is your opinion regarding Romanian wines?
Yes, I'm really very surprised, because you know, when you make a blind tasting, you know nothing. You know only the vintage, and so it's difficult on one side and easy on another side. So you don't have influence, so you are free. and for me it was really surprising that we found many wines with a high evaluation. It means with 5 points, it's more than 90 points from 100, and that I think confirms the high potential of your territory, the high potential of the wine growing area of Romania, and I think what the wine producers are doing, this is the right way.
And the final question, what do you think are the current European trends in the world of wine from the perspective of the consumer?
Okay, actually there is a very high trend for, they called it natural wine. No? You know, on the market we have biological and biodynamical wines, and now they call it natural wine. Why? Because the consumer wants to know what's inside the wine. You know, one is the vineyard, no? And then the other one is the cellar. What happened in the vineyard, what happened in the cellar? And there are many chemical additives they can use in the vineyard, the cellar. And so natural wine is a trend, no, for healthiness. So the consumer wants to know more, and I see that the producer, they believe to this, no? And to say, okay, natural wine could be for us a good, it's correct, because we try to produce as natural as possible. I think this is also good for Romanian wines, because Romania for me is natural. When I came here first time, it was to return in the past. No? I remember the 90s in Italy. This is one trend. No? Another trend I see, not so much alcohol. No? They started 5 years ago. I remember at the Merano Wine Festival we talk about it. No? That there is too much alcohol in the bottle. No? And so they started to have to produce wines with lower alcohol. Lower, I mean, instead of 15, 14, or instead of 14, 13.5. No? And this is also important, but to maintain the structure, to maintain the aromas. No? And okay, these are the two trends. And a third trend which I see is on the sparkling wines in Italy. No? Mainly for Prosecco it started, but also for the other areas. It's the traditional method. It means Franciacorta, or also Trento Doc, and the same in France. No, for the Champagne, you know, they enlarge the territory, and the market is open for this. They all want to have sparkling wines. And when I talk with a producer of Prosecco, no, they say to me, okay, we have not so much Prosecco. The request is higher than we produce, and this is a good sign. So I think this could be a good way to go for Romanian wines, no? And to propose sparkling wines. And we have had some sparkling wines in the tasting, and they were quite good.